If the main goal of the United Nations is to ensure peace in the world, guarantee international stability, and prevent wars, it was an objective that conflicted with the fact that the UN, in its first 40 years of existence, coexisted in practice with a war that was the Cold War. And speaking of wars, most of the wars that occurred throughout the 20th century were wars that, in some way, directly or indirectly involved either the United States or the Soviet Union, the same countries that were responsible, starting in 1945, for deciding on the maintenance of security and peace in that main body of the UN, which was the Security Council. Therefore, it is not surprising that this body would be marked by immobility, trapped in a realistic institutional configuration. This situation meant that the Council was unable to act in the face of serious issues that threatened international security. This has not remained in the past, as evidenced by recent crises such as the Russian invasion of Ukrainian territory. Hence, the resurgence of discourse by the Brazilian state in favor of reforming the United Nations. But going back to our initial subject, if there was one topic that neither the United States nor the Soviet Union were willing to veto, it was the process of decolonization. After all, many of these colonies were European possessions that harken back to a reality of the past, an imperialistic era of the old continent. Decolonization represented new areas of influence available to the new poles of power. If the main members of the Security Council, the two opposing poles, agreed on decolonization, it is clear that the UN would also support it. It is no coincidence that one of the original organs of the United Nations was the Trusteeship Council, which, as the name implies, had the role of supervising newly independent states to organize themselves and learn to stand on their own feet. But if England and France, as imperialist countries with an interest in maintaining their colonies, have veto power, they can block this support, right? Right. However, the combined power of the United States and the USSR is capable of exerting pressure, and if things don't progress, they can even bring the security debate to the General Assembly. Remember the Suez Crisis? At that moment, the interests of the United Kingdom, France, and Israel and Egypt were confronted by the organization, and the three were forced to ensure Egyptian sovereignty over the canal. As every struggle produces its victims, it is telling that a Secretary General of the UN, the highest position in the organization, died in the African continent on a mission. By the way, this same Secretary General had a significant role in the Suez conflict we just mentioned. In a suspicious accident, his plane crashed, resulting in his death and the death of 15 others. To pay homage to him, he received, in the same year of his death, the Nobel Peace Prize, posthumously, of course. Professor, you must be wondering what this hero's name is. Since his name is almost unpronounceable, so as not to offend his memory by attempting to pronounce his name, I will write it on the board here.